Hey there guys, today we're going to take a look at Starward Rogue, a new game that has very recently been released by Arcen Games. Now Arcen are a very interesting developer. They make some really weird stuff. They make, let's see, they got their kind of big claim to fame, I guess you could say, in the indie scene from AI War, Fleet Command, and all of its very good expansions. They then went on to make some other stuff like A Valley Without Wind 1 and 2, Skyward Collapse. Let's see. Of course, they also had Titleist, which was before all of this, and some other things as well. And they're currently working on what appears to be a kind of 4X strategy-ish thingy. But they decided to try their hand at the Rogue-lite genre, which, as followers of this channel know, is a genre that I really, really like. And we've got so many of them now that it's really good to start looking for not just games that do that genre well, but games that do it different. And when I heard Arcen was trying to come out with something, then I was immediately very interested, because they often have really weird ideas. This game uses some kind of assets and a little bit of a story, actually, from their previous game, which I absolutely love, by the way, by the name of The Last Federation. In that you are ahead of the Space Hydra species, the Hydrals, in a robot. And it actually has several similarities to something more like The Binding of Isaac, actually, in terms of its mechanics, so let's just get into it. This is pretty early on. I've only done about 4 runs, and I've lost all of them, as you can see. I've made it to the 5th floor twice, but I just can't quite get past it. Right now, when you first begin, there are 5 floors to every run, but you win 3 times, and you get 7 floor runs, and you can even go above that as well. So this is a very early first impressions, as far as my first impressions go, but I feel like I've kind of gotten the gist of it and I'm ready to show it off. So let's start. When you first begin, you have a choice of 6 hulls, which are, you're a robot in this, which is pretty awesome, and each one of these very much caters to a different playstyle. They have different starting stats as well as different starting equipment. But you can find equipment throughout the game to replace this. This is just what you begin with, and it's very important. And you also have difficulties. Something that Arcen is often very, very good at is providing lots of customizability to your gameplay experience, and this one is no different. Very much a good thing. And in fact, you can even just play with all the everything unlocked and even a dev mode for a run, which is pretty cool. It's nice that they offer options like that, and the options menu is similarly very, very good, by the way, which is normal for Arcen. They make excellent they have great options and customizability to how you actually want to play the game in question, and that's something they're excellent at. So what I also notice is that the misery difficulty, by the way, is really hard. Lots of extra complexity in the bullet patterns of enemies and things, but it actually mentions both Toho and Boat Murdered. So, I mean, really any game that mentions both Toho and Dwarf Fortress and its difficulty menu is a game that I want to play. So I've been pretty keen on the flame tank. I like the flamethrower, but the white gloss starts out with really balanced stats. I'm going to try something I haven't actually tried yet. Let's see, what's this? That seems pretty good. Key cards. Key cards are nice. Ooh, more XP is required for each level up. I see a treasure hunter mech with the STG 4376. Let's try the Green Envy. Let's try that. And here we go. And as you will of course guess, it is a procedurally generated game, with every run being different. That's, expected. And a lot like Binding of Isaac, which I'll be referring to several times in this video because of the mechanical similarities. Similarities? That's not a word at all. Similarities. A lot like Binding of Isaac, when you first begin, you will be next to an item room to help give you a kind of a head start. In this case, a big leaky battery. That is interesting. I might actually try that. Ooh, I got green shots. So, the way it works is very similar to Isaac and other games of the genre, where you have a top-down perspective, move around rooms, you got a little bit of momentum to your movement, but that can actually be turned off if you want, which again is an example of Arcen being excellent at allowing you to play the game how you want. And it actually works very much like a twin-stick shooter in controls, and in fact, if you're using a controller with this, which the game does support, it acts exactly like a twin-stick shooter, basically. It will actually utilize both sticks. So what is the STG? 3 shots per with insane attack speed and inaccuracy. Holy crap. That's amazing. Alright, so you have a primary weapon, and every mech has one, and you can pick them up to change it, that has infinite ammo. You also have missiles, which act a lot like the bombs in Isaac, that they are a limited resource, often used best for, actually, that's a laser, often used best for messing around with pieces of the environment, getting to secrets and extra items in rooms and things like that, but you can also use them for damage. I'm doing really bad, like, right off the bat, because I'm not paying enough attention. Playing these games while talking, you'd think I'd be better at it by now. And you also have a secondary energy weapon, and this weapon has a limited ammo capacity, but the energy refills at the beginning of every room. That does have a much bigger blast radius. So, obviously that item that I got in the item room to start off with makes it to where my energy leaks out during a room, which is a bit of a problem. But normally, of course, you know, your energy is recharged fully at the beginning of every single room, and that's what you have to use for your energy weapon in that room. And the energy weapons can be all kinds of things. They are just generally quite powerful secondaries that have all kinds of uses, from kind of utility uses like blocking to just big damage to area damage and things like that. And as you can, well, as you may have seen, this particular weapon appears to be a crazy giant spread bullet hose thing, which is pretty fantastic. Also, at the beginning of every room, your shield, you have a shield up here that will recharge, and that can take one hit for you without you taking any damage from that particular hit, which is important, because it helps you survive a little bit longer. You know, not worth it. Not worth it for that key right now, not even doing it. And, you'll also see these, and these are, oh, by the way, your shield, of course, does recharge at the beginning of every room as well, but your health does not. These gray blocks are present on every level, and as you can see, they cannot be destroyed by normal means. You have to use a missile. These are the rocks and bombs of the Binding of Isaac. And those glowing ones that you saw will often have treasure in them, like these, which are health shards. Collect 8 of these, and your health will be permanently upgraded by 1 point. You can also buy them from shops occasionally. So, there is a very significant amount of enemy variety in this game. There are lots and lots and lots of different kinds of enemies, each with all kinds of names, and varied bullet patterns. And, of course, the enemy behaviors and bullet patterns are things that you very much need to learn if you're going to actually succeed. For instance, the pearls of various kinds always shoot out these slow, big projectiles that then spawn into a kind of cylindrical storm of projectiles. There are these things called fleas, which are very small, hard-to-hit targets that are quite fast and fire very short-range but rapid small bullets. And you'll go through the game learning every different kind of enemy type, of course, like the spiders, for instance. They are very slow, they don't move a lot, but they fire out these long-lasting, far-reaching webs of energy that are very good at area denial. As you saw there, the red variant spread faster and farther, but the purple variant stayed for longer. And this is just something that you'll have to learn throughout the game, and that's actually one of my favorite parts of it. That's something that, to be fair, Arcen has always kind of done. They usually have a lot of variety in their games, and they often use kind of esoteric, strange graphics, like the actual bullet graphics are quite interesting. Like if I pause, you'll notice that the basic minigun actually fires like arrows, and the spider webs are made up of kind of strange symbols. That happens in pretty much all of their games, actually. A lot of their projectiles and energy bits and all those things are kind of weird looking, which is something I always appreciated because it adds a unique style to the game for sure. And this game does have that. In fact, I would say that this game in general very much has that, how to refer to it, that like Arcen magic, I guess, where they have very much made their own mark on the game. Which is what I was hoping for, because I love roguelites, and there are lots of them, so I always am looking for one that does things differently. Let's see. That is a treasure chest. As is that, but I can't open that one because I need a key card. Those are teleporters, so I could actually get over to that one by only using one missile here, but I don't have a key card, so there's literally no point. Let's open this up, and we got a couple missiles. Nice. As you can see, the levels are fairly large, and of course branch out in a very Binding of Isaac or old school Zelda fashion. And there are a lot of room variants in this game. That's something that I would say it actually has over Isaac. There are many different sizes of rooms and very, very many layouts. Something like Isaac Rebirth actually added lots of layouts as well. But this is a roguelite that very much relies on variety and the kind of strangeness, I guess, of the Arcen games to make itself different. And I personally like that quite a bit. This missile launcher is awesome, by the way. Normally the missiles don't have a blast radius that huge, but this particular one has a much bigger radius, so it kind of saves you in how many you have to use to break through large barricades like that. That is very valuable. Obviously, as a result, this particular mech has a much lower base missile capacity, but still. Also, it doesn't have a whole lot of health. You can have up to 2 shields at once, by the way, that of course both recharge at the beginning of a room, which is lovely. Time machine. That's weird. That's interesting. So there are also consumable items you can pick up and hold one of at any given time. And they work exactly like you would think. You consume them after you use them once and they're gone. Oh, by the way, there is a level up system, which adds quite a bit. Kills and things give you experience, and also there are experience pickups that look like little blue orbs that are adorable. And you can also buy experience at shops, interestingly enough, but it's very inefficient. So it's usually something you use when you're just about to level up, but haven't quite got there yet, and not something you would actually use to go through multiple levels, because it would cost way too much to do so. And every time you level up, you can choose from one of 3 perks. So in this case, I'm going to go for damage, because I have a lot of fast-firing weapons on this mech, so damage seems like it would be quite useful. This is a shop. There are lots of different kinds of shops, and as you may have noticed, I've been picking up credits as I've gone. Credits drop from containers and stuff like that. And this little thingy here allows you to spend credits, like I said, for experience, but as you can see, it's 5 credits per 40 experience, so I wouldn't really be able to level up with the number of credits I have with that. As you go higher in floors, this number gets bigger, so it'll be like 5 credits for 80 XP and things like that, because of course, as you go higher in the actual levels, as in the areas, you'll also be a higher level as in your character, so you'll need more experience. Let's see, this is a cheap item shop, which means it just has a bit of less expensive but still useful items like that keycard, which I'm buying, and I would really like to have this, but I don't have the money, so I'll have to remember that that's there, so by the time I'm ready to leave this floor, if I have, excuse me, 40 credits, I might go back and purchase that. So there are also secret rooms and things of that nature, and lots of ways to go through the levels, and one thing I notice about this game is, possibly as a result of it only having 5 floors to actually start with, like I said, you get more than that after you complete the main sort of quest line, I guess you could say, multiple times. But as a result of that, probably the progression is very fast through the floors, by which I mean that as in like in size, because in something like Isaac, the floors get bigger as you go down, but there are of course many levels to go through. In something like this, the floors get much bigger and longer. I died very quickly, so that the sizes of the floors gets like much larger than you'd expect very fast, and they get pretty huge. Now, of course, in games of this style, you don't have to explore the entire floor, but oftentimes it is nice to do so, or getting an item that lets you map out the whole floor so you see where all the rooms are and kind of can plan your attack. That's always nice. I don't know why I did so terribly that time. Let's try again with the same mech. Oh! Yeah, that sounds nice. So there are these modules you can get that act as attachments that often improve or otherwise alter your main gun. This one seems very good for a fast-firing weapon like this. So, yeah, very much, again, like a lot of other games in this genre, a lot of times, like, what you're doing in any given run is to try and get, like, as overpowered as possible, right? You're trying to find a really good set of items that has a really powerful synergy that lets you get very strong and work together with all of your other weapons and passive effects to become hugely powerful and wreck everything on the level. And that is exactly what this game actually expects you to do as well. Now, what does it do differently? Well, it has the Arcen theme of being quite different. It has a bigger focus on enemy variety and on actual, like, item kind of management and variety than it does on floor variety and things like that. And I found a secret room. So definitely this variety in general is a huge kind of point to this game. Now this is very much like a Devil Room from Isaac. It has items that you can choose, but they take away some of your maximum health permanently as payment. They're often quite good. Infinite energy until hit, but it would cost a third of my health. And like I said, that is permanent, like maximum health, by the way. That's not just damage. That's like, I would have 6 maximum health total if I bought that. I'm not going to do that right now, but some of those do get very, very tempting and powerful. So there's certainly a huge amount of variety in this game. If variety is your thing, then Starward Rogue is up there in terms of what it offers, because it's got a lot of content. 5 floors may not seem like a lot at first, but when you see how huge they are, like how long a run actually will take, this is not a bite-sized game, really. It may seem like that at first, but when you really get into it, and I can imagine that once you've beaten it enough times to unlock the 7-floor runs, that it will take you quite a while to get through those. You know, we're talking some pretty major stuff here, kind of like in once you've unlocked several of the optional, like, areas in Isaac after beating it a few times, a run can take you upwards of an hour. This is quite similar to that. So, let's see, what else is there about it? It focuses on variety, a lot of boss variety, by the way. There are multiple bosses that can show up on any given floor, which is very standard for this genre, and they're each quite different. There are, of course, also sort of more difficult, more complex versions of those bosses that you can find on later floors, but what I will say is that those are genuinely different. They're not just like a reskin with like slightly harder mechanics or something. They are the same idea, but they are much more difficult, much more complex versions, and they are simply much more than a reskin. So, it's not an easy game. Memorizing this just sheer number of different kinds of enemies and their bullet patterns, especially, by the way, on harder difficulties, because those bullet patterns do get much more complex later on. And it isn't just bosses that the higher difficulties affect in terms of the complexities of their shots. A lot of these standard enemies, especially later on, do get more difficult to manage. And I like that a lot. I've always liked games that make me memorize a lot of patterns and things like that. When it comes to shoot-'em-up style games like Toho, I love the complexity of the boss bullet patterns and things in that game. It's like one of its main key points, really. So transferring that to a roguelite that has a lot of bullet hell-y elements definitely does the game a good service in making it different, I guess you could say. It's different from what's on the market in a couple of important ways. Kind of like how Death State was as well. It's very much like that, only this is more of the traditional Isaac-y style of this genre, combined with the bullet hell and things like that, than Death State, which was a little different. So, this is a game that has a good basis of traditional mechanics that you would expect in the roguelite genre, with a good number of Arcen's trademark weird differences and kind of odd ideas that round it out to be something really quite cool, actually, and I'm pretty pleased with it. I'm going to probably go straight to the boss, actually, this time. You know what? No, I'm going to see if there's something else over here before I go. I'm not too powerful yet in this run, so. Also, you can pause and not only see what all you have equipped right now, but also it gives you the map overview, and you can, of course, Arcen is very good with their tooltips. You can hover over pretty much any room and it'll tell you what it actually is, which is nice. That's something that's interesting, actually, because in this genre, a lot of times, it's very much based on finding out as you go, if you get what I mean. Like how in Isaac, a lot of the item descriptions are not clear whatsoever as to what they do. Or it'll be something like, Other games in the genre will do things like give you kind of hints as to what an item does or what a passive will be. You know, Risk of Rain did a bit of a better job at that, but even still some of those items don't give you all the information. But since Arcen is kind of all about numbers and giving you that information, the game does an excellent job at actually explaining to you what everything does. Like, every weapon has actual stat bars that are comparable. Down here, it will show all of the passives and things that you've picked up, if you've picked up any. Obviously, I haven't this run, so they're not there. But those also have actual concise descriptions that tell you exactly what it is that item does. All the consumables don't have any, like, they don't leave any mystery as to what they're actually going to do, except for the mystery circuit, which that's the entire point of that consumable. It's kind of a random effect. You don't know what it is until you use it, which is very rogue-like, like the potions that are unidentified and things like that. So, to a lot of the people that have a problem with that degree of, like, wiki magic, where you need to, like, go read a wiki to figure out what all the items do, and I don't like that part of roguelites. I don't personally mind it. I kind of accept it as part of the territory, but some people are not as pleased by that for understandable reasons. If you're one of those people, then this game will probably suit you better, because it does that very much differently. Oh, tiny damage boost. How cute. Oh, take that too. The fact that it does it differently and actually gives you a significant amount of information as to what everything does is a good point for a lot of people. That's too expensive. That would be amazing. Salvos upon salvos. Ooh, enemy speeds though. Ooh, that would be awesome. But too expensive. And that is also slightly too expensive. But I like my STG. So, meh. Alright, let's show you a boss fight to round out the video. The bosses get very challenging. There are also mini-bosses that you can find, various mini-boss rooms throughout the levels. Usually the first floor doesn't have one. I think it can, it just usually doesn't. And the mini-bosses can also be pretty cool. There are lots of them that I really enjoy, and a lot of the boss designs are very, very neat. Now, the bosses have a pretty cool look to them, as does this entire game. It has Arcen's very unique kind of graphical stylings. But the boss bullet patterns and things are where they really shine. Okay, this is Mirror Mark 1. It's kind of a scarabee looking dealy. And it's got a fairly easy pattern to learn. A lot of the bosses actually have multiple phases, where once, this is very much like a Toho style bullet hell trope, where once the bosses get down to a certain amount of health, all the bullets on screen will explode basically and like disappear, which can save your butt, and then it will transfer into a different phase with different patterns, like that. So now the boss is going to act a little differently. And you may have noticed that I'm suddenly moving slower. This is also another bullet hell trope. You have not only a sprint button that allows you to move ridiculously quickly and get hit, like an idiot, like I just did almost, but you also have what's kind of like the focus mode in the Toho games that allows you to move very, very slowly so you can move in between complex bullet patterns easier and things like that. So that's awesome. I love that they put both of those extra control methods in there. So sprinting for backtracking or going through big rooms, or moving very slow for boss fights and things. It's awesome. I very much like that that's in there. But yeah, I totally took that thing down without too much trouble. That's a fairly easy boss. And the boss will always drop an item for you. In this case, it is a fire rate decrease, but a huge damage increase. And since this already has a pretty good fire rate, that seems like a good trade-off. Yeah, I think I'm okay with that. And now I can actually show you, like I said, that everything down here shows your various passives that you've picked up, as well as all your equipment. So that's awesome. And let's move on to the next floor, just for the heck of it. So yeah, this is Starward Rogue. It is not an expensive game at all, as Arcen Games tend to be actually quite cheap. It's only $12 on Steam. It is very inexpensive. That is not a lot of money at all, especially for what you're actually getting. There's a huge amount of content here on offer, so that's not expensive. Also, every floor after the first will have one of these items in the starting room, and once you actually leave the starting room and come back, it's gone. So this is a sort of self-imposed difficulty bonus. There are all kinds of them, and you can pick it up if you want. I'm going to pick this one up just for the hell of it. And they are always a do something before leaving this floor or by the end of this floor, and you get a bonus. And the bonuses are usually lots of money and key cards and other useful things. Hey, those things hurt you when you walk across them, by the way, and I only have one shield, so I'm pretty sure I'll take damage on the second time over. But in this case, I have to get all the health shards on this entire floor. Antique hull. It's strong but rusting? What does that mean? There we go. Like I said, they actually give you numbers. 14 max HP, but you will suffer damage when you enter a new room. This cannot kill you. That's interesting. Okay. Can I actually walk through? Oh, I can. Okay, so if you kind of walk through the diagonals there, then you can actually... Alright, I'm okay with taking a little bit of a hit from that because no damage because of shields. So yeah, that's a really fair price. That is not expensive. Another very, very good point about this game that is common with Arcen Games is high, very high modability. In fact, a lot of focus on mods. They already have a mod section up on their forums that you can get to very easily, and in fact the Steam page itself, and I think even in the game itself, actually has a link to the mod forum, as well as a modding wiki if you want to learn how to do it yourself. And you can add all kinds of content to the game via modding. Whoa! I didn't know that's what those did. Cool. And there's, like, already mods available, by the way, and they're usually pretty cool. So, like, seriously, for only $12, you're getting what's already here, plus the promise of a pretty good community that's usually really good at making more content and stuff. That just Arcen has this community that's usually available for this, and they tend to make mods pretty quickly for adding even more stuff, more enemies, probably more weapons and levels and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, there's a lot here for only $12, and if you're a fan of this genre, I would have to recommend it. And if you're not a fan of this genre, maybe this one does enough different to change that. It has a focus on more interesting combat, a focus on enemy variety, and it does not have a focus on obfuscating statistics and the usages of items and passives and stuff from you, which a lot of other games in the genre do. So if that's something that you dislike or that keeps you from enjoying the games as much, the fact that this one does it differently may be a bonus for you. So yeah, Starward Rogue, everyone. I would recommend it, and for its price tag, it is definitely worth a look. So thank you, by the way, Arcen, for giving me access to this, and that's Starward Rogue. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Ooh, shield. Definitely taking that.